Hello, listeners. Tonight's story is a bit of an odd one. It's another compelling story of strange happenings in Antarctica, with an odd spin on it. Take a seat by the fire. Let me tell you this tale. Son of Aunt Anon, an X-Revelation. On February 13th, 2021, an Antarctica thread regarding a newly cropped up picture of what appeared to be a spider-like creature in Antarctica cropped up on X that was found in a Google Earth thread. An Anon came forward claiming that his father was a doctor that worked in McMurdo Station in the New Zealand-claimed Ross Dependency area of Antarctica, and that he knew about these creatures beforehand. The following are his posts, before he went quiet. Boy, I sure do fucking love mutated penguin spiders. It's not my fault they have to live here. We're kinda in the same boat. I have no memory of choosing any of this. I guess they built them a big fancy new house here, but it already fell apart and leaked water everywhere, haha. I had nothing to do with the polar bear murder last week. I thought that was wrong. You can buy land on the moon, but not in Antarctica. I find that interesting. What would be the approximate size of it? Son of Aunt Anon arrives. Up! I am the foremost expert on this subject. My father was stationed in Antarctica at McMurdo Station. He told me things. Y'all want to hear some fucked up shit? I'm using a name because it's easier for me to keep track of this shit. Some background. My dad is a doctor. Was stationed at McMurdo for 11 months in the 90s. Not saying what year because he was the only doc there and y'all could track me down. Frequently went out on scientific expeditions. First and foremost, there were some areas that people just didn't go to. They weren't environmentally hazardous, they just were avoided for one reason or another. When my dad asked one of the researchers who had been there for 10 years, he went pale and told him to shut up. It was about 30 miles south, 10 east of McMurdo. They took a 5-mile detour around whatever the hell was there. So already things are adding up. There were little outposts here and there. Think a metal tube sticking out of the ground, with a hatch on the side. They were supposedly emergency inclement weather shelters, but the walls were too thin and they were always locked. Second was a weird structure. My dad said one time they were crossing a hill near the spot where they avoided and a gray building with a white roof was in the distance, and that it didn't look like the normal shelters they used, but almost like an office building. Also, sorry about the spelling and shit. Think faster than I can type and I want to get this out there. Thirdly, there were the Striders. Big fucking 5-legged things that crawled across the continent at night or in snowstorms. There were sightings from the military personnel there. Most of McMurdo is US Navy. My dad had a Polaroid of one of the footsteps in the snow. It was easily a foot deep into the snow that was already packed down from a 10-ton truck. Big fucking 5-legged things. How big? Does the thing from the pic resemble it? Aunt Anon responds to another poster while also replying to the previous question. You make a good point. The official reasoning for Antarctica being controlled is that they want to keep it the last untouched place on Earth. Like, Strider from Half-Life big as far as they know. Footsteps at least 30 to 40 feet apart. And, now, if you have ever played Pathways into Darkness, one of the enemies resembles it. But only just think pick-related, but white or gray. 7 to 8 stories tall with 5 legs instead of 2. Another poster asks about the Striders from Morrowind. In regards to Morrowind Striders, too small, too fat, but the legs are right. Think upright torso on 5 spindly legs, open top, much taller. So as I said, my dad was a doctor. He got yelled at by a superior officer once, who said that they didn't need none of you unwanted smart types around here. Guy was a prick and hated anyone who wasn't a grunt or a researcher. Let leak to my dad that he was a replacement for a doc who had snooped around. Tried to scare my dad and shit. Guy was a total douche. One day a guy who my dad knows, for a fact, isn't at McMurdo or in any of the nearby bases, comes in, escorted with severe lacerations. He is told the guy fell. My dad calls bullshit. The cuts were too clean to be ice or rocks, plus no debris left in the wound. Guy's delirious, and while he's under anesthesia, starts talking about things he probably shouldn't be saying. Something about, we let them loose, and, they were frozen, we thought they were dead. He starts to say something else, but the guards yell at him to shut the fuck up and gag him. That's right, they gagged a guy who was only getting oxygen from a mask. My dad flips and rips it off, yelling at them, asking what the fuck they're doing. The guard sticks his M16 in my dad's face, forces him back to his quarters, and doesn't let him out till the dude is patched up and waiting on the next plane from South America. Oh yeah, but after that he started taking note of stuff. He had an Apple II that he used for flight sims, and he started keeping track of the information he gathered. Said he hasn't looked at it in years. I'm going to try to get it out and running and see what I can find on it. Till then, not much else I know about what went on. He said he saw Striders a few times in the winter, but kinda hard to prove. Says he's forgotten a lot about those days. If I can find the computer, I can get more stories. Other than that, not much else. One time they hit something with the Dakar, which was a big deal since there aren't many penguins in the Antarctic. and when they got out, the researcher who told my dad to shut up forced him back into the car. Dad said it looked like one of those things from the Cloverfield movie, but, all fucking crushed to bits. So, spindly little legs and the like. He says he thinks it was buried under the surface level of snow, which is why they didn't see it. Anon responds to another poster. Agreed, it sounds stupid, but so what? A fast-growing, possibly supernatural apex cryptid with a white spindly body that only moves in low visibility. I'm only parroting what I heard. I would say it is maybe 20 to 30 feet tall, but I wasn't there. My dad's theory is that while taking ice bore samples, we found something. Dug it up and one or more had escaped. They grew into what roams Antarctica, and we shut down the continent because of it. Son of Anon then claims that his dad had a wooden plaque from the station, and he says he'll post a picture. Give me a few minutes, guys. I'm gonna go take a picture and censor the name of a plaque my dad got from being stationed at McMurdo. It will have the timestamp and everything to prove I ain't lying. Found the apple and got it out. Can't find the keyboard, though. And more proof he was at McMurdo. I can't get it running tonight. I'm honestly really tired and I have work tomorrow in the morning. But my dad literally just woke up and I asked him, and he told me something he didn't already tell me. So people die in Antarctica. It happens. It's cold and accidents happen. Every time someone died during the winter snowstorms, though, he had to wait for them to thaw and sew them back together. Similar wounds from the person who dipped in the summer, except for one man, another person he didn't know, who was missing his lower half. This guy was carted in by similar guards, but not the same ones. His intestines had spilled out, and my dad had to sew on a fake cloth lower half after sealing this guy's torso up. They then dressed him in battle dress. The official cause of death is hypothermia, but we know that's bullshit. His lower abdomen from the end of his ribcage down had been ripped off violently. There's shit out there, Anons. You better fucking believe it. So I asked him a few more questions about injuries, and he said a lot lost limbs from frostbite. A few cuts here or there. Those two are the only two that stick out to him. There were a lot of lacerations on people who did stuff outside in the winter, and the only ones allowed out were a certain group of Arctic warfare soldiers and the researchers. He said talking about all this has gotten his memory going. Said he grabbed one of the researchers' journals one time, and it had all kinds of diagrams of shit that didn't look like any animal that was supposed to be out there. This is where he got his descriptions for the striders and the spiders. He cornered one of the researchers once and questioned her. She got really stiff and refused to tell him anything. And later he got a talking to from his CO about how useless he was and shit, and how if there was another incident they would be sending him back stateside. He ignored this though, and when his CO was away, he looked through his files. This guy controlled the whole base at the time. He found documents regarding operations during the winter months and that there was requisitions for ammo. He got caught though, and this is what led to him being kicked back to the States. He got court-martialed, but because he never signed an NDA and he never found anything bad, they docked his pay and sent him on his way. So what's the source or context behind the photo? I'm a total new friend to all of this. It's from Google Earth. Some dude that was there took the pics all around the place he was at. I guess he was a scientist? Let me get my dad to take a look at it. He says he doesn't know. It's on the opposite side of the continent from where he was, near some Australian and British stations. Now for some stories from other people. Once they told my dad he was being shipped out, despite the fact this was the day he was supposed to leave, he stopped caring what people thought and started gathering stories from everyone he could. Most of it was like, oh, I saw this, or I saw that, but nothing he could really work with. Then came in Jones, which is not his real name. Jones was one of the Arctic warfare specialists. Green Beret, the guy was autistic, strong as fuck, and smart as hell. He only got through all of the training because he could hide his disability well. He could do what a lot of the other members of his team couldn't, but the one thing Jones had that the others didn't have was a conscience. Jones felt bad for what he did, and my dad had an undergrad degree in psychology. They had an agreement. Jones hurts himself and gets sent to my dad helps Jones get stuff off his chest, everyone is happy. His buddies don't know he's going to a shrink, he gets to feel good, and the CO gets to have a functioning soldier. One time Jones wakes my dad up, about 3 days before my dad is supposed to ship out. It's 2 in the morning and Jones had just come back from a mission. Says he needs to talk to my dad. My dad tells him to fuck off, not this early, and Jones puts something on my dad's chest. It's the leg of one of those small things. My dad freaks and Jones puts his hand over his mouth and tells my dad a story. This is where it all comes together, Anons. Clench your ass, no bathroom breaks until the ride is stopped. Some of you may say this sounds like a story with supporting information leading to a climax. Got to make it sound good for YouTube, huh? Jones proceeds to tell my father the most incredible fucking story I've ever heard. It confirms many theories on 4chan and IRL. And it proves American collusion with China's human trafficking, and it confirms the reason for tunnel warfare training US Marines recently undertook. Y'all ready? Jones gets woken up at 5 in the morning the previous day by his squad leader, let's call him Jack. Jack tells him to get his ass up. To clarify, these are SFODA, with a total of 12 men in the squad, and that they're going somewhere. Jones expects an expedition with some researchers, but they don't go to the military Dakar. With a hole up top for a gun turret, they have an M134 minigun inside the truck because it's technically demilitarized, but not really, and then they load up their gear. They leave and make a beeline for the area everyone avoids. My dad figured this out when he said that they were heading southeast, and they get to this office building that looks sorta like Pick related, according to my father's recollection. They park out front and operator their way inside, and it's a fucking carnage. Think government lab in season 2 of Stranger Things, it's just fucking nuts. They clear out a few rooms when one of their guys gets murked by one of the tiny fuckers. They light it up and keep going. There are offices with names on them. Some American, some Chinese, some Chilean. There are bodies everywhere. It's crazy, right? So 2 more guys get injured and they were moved outside to the truck. The rest of them moved downstairs into the tunnels. It's a secret lab, and it is gigantic. They have a Strider in a cage, it's that fucking big. Or at least they used to. Many of the cages are broken open and there are dead bodies everywhere. Jones doesn't say much about the stuff here, other than that there are tunnels with bullet trains in them with destinations like Hong Kong, New York, Melbourne, a city for every major country out there. They find a cage that has been ripped into with 2 spiders in it. They are eating children. In Antarctica, there are children. Shouldn't be fucking possible. Oh wait, China. It's been known for a while that China plays a part in a huge amount of human trafficking, and now we know where the bodies go. They found a few scientists and moved them into a different base, exterminate most of the fuckers in there and move out. It took them almost 18 hours of pure fighting to clear the place out. So guys, I guess we know what's really going on, and I'm very, very grateful to get all of this out there. Honestly, my dad would kill me if he knew I had shared any of this, but honestly, I'm sick and fucking tired. I remember a time where I didn't know, where I grasped at straws for an answer to questions I could barely understand. Here it is, X. Here are your answers. Okay, so what are the Striders? Extraterrestrial? Interdimensional? Subterranean? Hyper-evolved apex predator? I will answer questions for a few minutes, so ask away while you can. And they're subterranean. They start off small but grow really fucking fast. I think they were frozen since the Ice Age, and were apex predators at the time with the intelligence of dogs. No, less supernatural and more cryptid. Yeah, bullets work well against something that evolved long before humans. Not much armor, but think like a bug. Hard outer shell, but easy to penetrate with a 5.56 full metal jacket. Not just there, and for more than food. Probably also experiments. Building was built by the US. Think standard office building, just reinforced for the winters. Well, y'all, I'm about to pass out. Good to know I made my mark on 4chan history. And with that, son of Aunt Anon disappeared. Until... Hello, gentlemen. The thread was then moved as a massive amount of shills came out of nowhere posting disinformation. I'm back and I got news. As I said, this Anon always delivers. Yesterday I said 9 o'clock PM EST, and on my clock it's 9 o'clock PM EST. I can't find the last thread I was in. It was sometime around midnight last night that I joined it. So the hard drive died a while ago, and my dad replaced it with the micro SD. Had to lie, so no timestamp, but compare the disk and it's the same. Apple II SI hard drives didn't last long enough to be able to get the information off them. They are a 30-year-old computer. Apparently my dad replaced the hard drive with a SCSI micro SD card, and the drive is long gone. Convenient? Yes. Disappointing? Also yes. But I'd rather come back and tell you than ghost and be regarded as a shill. It's entirely possible he held onto the drive. He holds on to everything. So I'd have to go through boxes and boxes of old electronics to find the 40 megabyte hard drive that came with it. I'll go look and send a pic of what I have to work with. It's possible, but I think it's just for research. Also on the LARPing thing, yeah, I know I slipped up when I said NDA. It wasn't exactly that, and was more technical, but long story short, they couldn't legally get rid of him without fuss being raised. I know of an Oklahoma story of something similar to what my dad saw in Antarctica, and small spider-like creatures are in all kinds of these stories. Like I said, he doesn't get rid of anything. This is a third of the stuff in that storage room, and we have twice as much stuff in the garage. Gentlemen, I have found 2 Apple hard drives from the 90s. Here they are. Wanted to update before I got the upload off my phone. Then Anon goes full moron and almost breaks the damn drives. Photo with the backs off. Copyright 1988 on the chip for both of them. I'm gonna take the one with the Apple sticker on it apart to see if I can find out why it broke. If that screwdriver is the type with the magnet tips, get it the fuck away from the drives. Why are you taking apart the hard drives? Holy shit, stop, what the hell are you doing? Your concerns are warranted, but as I said before, this is a 30-year-old hard drive for an unsupported operating system that I know almost for a fact is broken. I think your intelligence side is right for thinking that, but it ain't no hoax. I'm not promising shit, all I know is what I've been told. My dad archived his own stories and the stories of people he worked with while he's at McMurdo, and they are supposedly on this hard drive. This hard drive has been broken for at least 5 years. I'm not sure what else I can say. You should ask G what to do. Good idea. Done. The wiring on both sides looks aight. It's probably the disk inside. A thread is made on G, but is almost immediately removed by moderators. Honestly, I'm not sure what to do. I ain't good with this kind of stuff. Most of the drives of this type died a long time ago, including this one, and I've shared all the stories I have. Any suggestions? Yeah, guys, I can't get info off the drive without professional help. I'll go to a data recovery guy and get it out for you. I'm in too deep for this now. Proof it's locked. I'll be back as soon as I can. I need to wait for a paycheck before I can recover it, and that's next Tuesday at the very least. Goodbye for now, Anons. If you don't hear from me again, it's because I am gone. If there's one thing this Anon does, it's deliver. And now we anxiously wait to see whether or not Anon's asshole is turned into a... or he comes up out of the blue and occasionally posts his findings. Godspeed, Anon. Hello again, listeners. I want to thank you for listening to this story. Make sure to like it if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to hear more in the future. Click the bell icon in order to be alerted when I have more stories to tell. And until then, don't ask about the Arctic Striders.